I would like to start out with a proper introduction of myself. My name is Ray Gardner. I am the son of Lois Robinson, who is the daughter of Dora D. Clark, who is the daughter of Annie Hawks, who is the daughter of Nellie Cecina and Tom Hawks, and Tom was the son of John Hawks, whose proper given name, before changed by the missionaries, was Huxvelt. Huxvelt was one of the signature signers of the 1851 Tansy Point Treaty. Some of the treaties that have been discussed here today as to why they were or were not ratified. I think that just in that alone answers one of the questions of have we continued to stay in our land. My family has never left. We have been there since time immemorial. We have been there since a signature signer, a full chief of a treaty. And being the elected chairman of the 5 tribes of the Chinook Nation is what allows me the honor to be here today and present this testimony. Some of the things I'd kind of like to touch on just briefly is from the questions that I heard earlier. One of the things that was talked about was, have we had lapses in time of being there? As I stated from my own lineage, I think we can show that we have constantly been in that area and we have not left. The BIA agencies within themselves from the time of the Tansy Point Treaties in 1851 through 1955, through various offices of their own, have stayed in contact with the Chinook people. My grandmother, my great aunties, my great uncles were all removed from their homes and put in tribal schools, again, because they were from a recognized tribe. Through the different land allotment acts, the Chinook people were given land allotments as a recognized tribe. One of the things that has concerned me as time has gone on and talking about the continuation of government, and just in myself, this is my second term as the chairman of the Chinook Nation. Prior to that, I was elected to the position of vice chair. Prior to that, I was elected to general counsel. We have always had a very strong and ongoing government that meets at least once a month to carry on the business of our people and to work with outside agencies. We have a very strong and continuing dialogue with agencies within the local cities, the county, and the state. One example of that is from on our timeline in 1805-06, we were the tribe at the mouth of the Columbia River that met Lewis and Clark when they got there. We were the ones that helped them survive that terrible winter that they describe in their own journals. During that time, it was very important, I think, that one, we really pointed out the fact that we were there and that we have stayed, but because of that commemoration, there was a national park that was going to be built on the lower Columbia River. During the time of the building of that park, 9 of our ancestors were uncovered by a backhoe. We have, from that day forward, been in constant contact, at least quarterly, meeting with the heads of 8 different state agencies working through the issues, as well as federal agencies, on how do we move forward with that national park. We've had very strong support, as shown in the attachments to the testimony from the governor's office showing those ongoing negotiations, and also the University of Washington. One of the things I would also like to touch on briefly is talking about continuing of time on land. We have an elder here with us today, Phil Hawks, who was the last Chinook that was born on Goose Point. Goose Point was one of the locations that during the treaty negotiations, the people were told they had to move to. Some of the families did move there. Philip was born there and only spoke Chinook until he went to kindergarten. Phil still resides right next to Goose Point and walks there daily. We have another elder, Sammy Pickernell, who's not here today. but he was actually removed from Long Island by the federal marshals when the federal marshals came out and said that they were going to make it into a wildlife preserve, and in such that the family had to leave. We also have families that have been at and are still at Pillar Rock on the Columbia River. So I think we have shown our time of being there. One of the things I would just like to briefly mention is the frustration on our part of being recognized and then having that recognition taken away. But in the same respect, I think it needs mention that our tribes were actually terminated in the Oregon Termination Act of 1954. And where they were terminated by an act of Congress, it actually does take Congress to restore those tribes. So I would really appreciate everyone going over the rest of the testimony. Obviously, I don't have time to go over it all. I really appreciate the honor of being here and speaking on behalf of our people, and thank you very much.